So in September 2010, I left to do some military training for the Army in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and was coming home for Christmas leave. And I felt fine the first day I was home, went to bed, and I woke up like 16 hours later, which was really strange for me because I'm usually an early riser, and but just figured I was just really tired from some of the training that we've been doing, so I just didn't really mention it to anybody, and went back to bed that night, and same thing happened. I woke up late the next afternoon, and I started to feel really weak and just fatigued, like out of my mind, and didn't think anything about it, but it continued to happen. So eventually my dad took me to the ER and explained my symptoms to them, and they did some tests, and they thought that maybe it was caused from an antibiotic that I had been taking, and they just told me to stop taking the antibiotic and I would feel better. So I did. I didn't get any better, so my dad decided to take me to his general physician to see if he could run some different tests and find something that they didn't find, and he did some blood work on me and sent me home. And before I got home, the doctor called and was like, "You need to get Joseph back up here because his blood counts are just all wrong, and he needs to be admitted to the hospital today." So we went up to Baptist East, and I was admitted into the hospital where they did some more tests and blood work, and on January 3rd, 2011, that's when they diagnosed me with acute lymphocytic leukemia. I had a range of emotions I was feeling. The first one was denial, I guess. I was for sure they had it wrong, and maybe they would catch it in a few days. And then I was angry because I was in a chapter of my life where I was bettering myself, and I was really excited about what was going on with the military. And now that was taken away from me, because now here I am sitting in a hospital bed. Well, the doctor let me know that they were going to give me a heavier dose of chemo that they would give a child because I was an adult with a pediatric form of leukemia. So they really just, hit me hard with it, and I started feeling, even more sick than I was before I got there. And me and my parents, we talked about death some, and they were taking it really hard. I let them know that I was okay if I died right now, that I had a relationship with God, and I knew that I was going to heaven, and that at this point I'd be totally fine with being in heaven than in this hospital room. So I kind of had this death acceptance in my life, and I felt a form of kind of peace with my health, and but I had faith that this was not how I was going to die. I can't explain why I had that feeling. It's not like I'm just like an extremely optimistic person. I just had this feeling that it wasn't my time yet. Then 6 months later, my mother, who had been taking care of me, she got diagnosed with breast cancer. So now my family has a brother and a son who has leukemia, and a mom that has breast cancer. And she was in the late stages of breast cancer, which, if anybody knows about that, it's definitely best to catch it at the earliest moments. And they let her know that they were going to do the best they could to put her in remission. And so, God, I understand why you would allow this to happen to me, but why would you allow this to happen to my mother? She went into remission. She had surgery and radiation and chemo, and we actually had the same doctor in the same clinic, so we would both get chemo sitting next to each other, and it brought us really close together. We were way closer than we'd ever been in my life, and things were looking up for her. Then within a few months, she wasn't feeling any better, and she was feeling worse and having horrible headaches and body pains. And we went back to the hospital, and they did an MRI on her, and we went back so she could get an MRI, a CAT scan, just to see if they could see any cancer spots. And it turns out there's cancer on all of her major organs and skin and just all over the place. And they gave her about a year to live if they couldn't control it. But they were going to attempt to with radiation and chemo all over again. And at this point, it really hit me for the second time that I had no control over what happens to me. Like, that it's all in God's hands, and that I shouldn't worry, because worrying or being angry with God isn't going to make, it's not going to make my mom be cancer-free. It's not going to make it better for my little brother to see me just angry and upset, and so I had another acceptance of God's will, that He was in control, and that all I could do was pray for my mom and for the doctors, and whatever came to be, my mom was either going to be cancer-free or she was going to be in paradise. August 7th, 2012, my mother passed away, and me and my sister were both able to speak at her funeral here at Hope. And I felt that sense of peace and understanding that God has a plan for everything He does. Whether, I will never know for the rest of my life why my mom had to pass away or why I had to get leukemia. But I know it's in God's will, and there's a reason for it, and I might not see it, but I know it's there. Today I'm still receiving chemo treatments every month, and I will be until April 2014. And I still struggle every day with God's will in my life, but I've come to understand that He has a reason for everything that He does.